Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm chatting with Michael Konnert from Vizsla Silver. Guys, we recently reached out to Vizsla because we saw their PEA and we thought the numbers were truly outstanding. Their project has a 9-month payback period with an 87% IRR and a net present value north of 1.1 billion US dollars. This is the first time that we've had Michael on. So in this interview, Michael tells us his both short and long-term plans for Vizsla Silver, why he is bullish about silver, and he gets into those numbers from the PEA so we can get a little bit more color. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Michael, thanks so much for joining us today.
Steve, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be on your show.
So the first thing I kind of like to talk about when we have people like yourself on that are CEO of a company with a particular commodity and focus is the sort of broad outlook and thesis of that commodity. Now, in your case, you guys are a very well-known silver name. And I was saying pre-interview that when we cover your guys' news, we tend to get a lot of views. There's a lot of interest out there in your story. So let's talk silver. Silver recently was above $30. It's come back a little bit. There's obviously day-to-day volatility, but the last year, we'll say, has been pretty bullish, or maybe the last 9 months. What do you think's driving the momentum that we've seen, and where do you think silver's heading over the relatively near term?
Well, first of all, I think it's heading a lot higher. There's just no way that it stays at these levels for much longer. I think that's what we've seen recently. This price movement, is the reality starting to set into the price, because we're in year 3 of a deficit in the silver supply and demand equation right now. We're chewing through above ground supply. There's only so much above ground supply that's available to be used for, industrial purposes like solar panels, electric vehicles, electronics, and, basically the electrification of the world. And, silver is indispensable for that. So eventually, we're running out of this available supply that's filling the deficit right now. And that deficit's going to outstrip the, that's artificial supply. And really what we're seeing is about 900 million ounces annually being produced from mines, and, well over 1 billion ounces being used by mostly industrial purposes.
So it's the first time that we've had you on. Let's talk about Vizsla Silver. What's the high level overview of the company?
Well, Vizsla Silver, I'm actually here right now in Mexico. And what we've done in Vizsla is consolidate a historic mining district for the very first time in modern history. That was done in 2019. And we started exploring the property for the first time, systematically exploring using modern techniques and drilling that had never been done in certain areas of this district. We ended up making a massive discovery, probably one of the biggest discoveries in recent years in silver and precious metals as a whole. And if you fast forward, the last 5 years and till now, we've gone from really kind of a ballsy consolidation play where we brought 2 big halves of a district together. We're a 20 million market cap company that had a $43 million option payment. Everyone thought it was crazy. No one thought we could do it. Make a discovery, raise institutional money, drill for 4 years, drill about 100,000 meters a year. And now we've come out with this industry-leading PEA, and it's probably the best PEA that I've seen in the industry in the last 10 plus years. It's really incredible. $1 billion plus NPV, 85% IRR. But the craziest thing, of course, is that this is a mine that we can build, a capex that we can do with our market cap. This isn't like a $200 million market cap company trying to say that they're going to do $1 billion capex. This is a $225 million capex that's totally approachable with our market cap here. And of course, one of the other attractive parts of this is that we have a less than a year payback, a 9-month payback, which is really incredible as well.
And that's actually why we originally reached out to you about having you on, was because our editor read your PEA and just thought it was absolutely outstanding. I want to go back to what you just said a little bit about how you guys used modern technology to come up with this discovery. And for those of us who maybe aren't geos, what does that mean? What was that technology that led you guys to thinking that you guys had something?
Well, I suppose the modernity of the technology is all relative because, in the past in this district, what people would do is they would find outcrops of precious metals, or, they'd find a vein that looked interesting. And then they would chase that, with explosives or with hammers or, whatever tools they had to their availability. And what we did is we came in and we started to systematically explore. So we started with mapping and sampling and really trying to take like a holistic and 30,000 foot view of the district. When we were able to determine certain targets and find things that scientifically made sense to the geologist, we then brought in our drill rigs and started making discoveries. But where we started to bring in kind of modern technology outside of modern drilling or modern prospecting techniques was airborne electromagnetics and ground electromagnetics. So it was probably about 3 years ago now that we started to realize that some of the higher grade material had sulfides in it, higher grade sulfide conductors. And so we brought in electromagnetic loops and found out that the high grade material corresponded with certain displays on this survey that we did. And so later this year, we're actually going to fly the entire property for the first time ever with this electromagnetic technology and another airborne technology to help us really kind of hone in on new discoveries. But what the funniest thing was is that we didn't even have to be that cutting edge really to make new discoveries. We just had to be the first company to go out there and do it on a large scale, which we did.
So as you mentioned before, the economics on your PEA are outstanding. What is it that allows you to keep the capital cost so low?
Well, there's two main things here. The biggest thing is we have an enormous amount of high grade silver and gold near surface that's relatively inexpensive to bring above surface. And so what we're planning on doing is a test mine that we're permitted for. Started planning on starting that later this year, and the goal is to bring out 1 or 2 years of high grade material from underground, bring it above ground, and then have it available for the mill as we build the mill. But the other thing is that this project has just like it's a sidewalk mining project in the sense that there's 2 highways that run through the property. And if you recall, I mentioned we drilled about 400,000 meters on the property before, and that's a huge amount really for any mining company. A lot of mining companies would go out and do 2,000 meters, 10,000 meters. It's kind of a big campaign for most juniors. But over the last 4 years, we've been doing 100,000 meter programs, and we've done that all without having to build roads. So the key vein areas are very accessible by road. There's high tension power that runs over the property. There's communities in our vicinity that they all know how to mine. This is mining area, very talented work pool. So all of those things come together to create a really low capex. But we basically got to those numbers based on recent builds in Mexico. So our COO, we talked earlier about Craig Perry. So I had two mentors. One was Craig Perry, who became our chairman, and then early on, Simon Smirlik was our director of the company. And Simon's one of the world's great mine builders. He just retired as from the COO position at Ausenco Engineering, and he joined us as COO. And the last project that they built in Mexico with Ausenco was Las Chispas for Silvercrest. So he's basically kind of replicating that process, that mill, everything that Silvercrest did really well. We're planning on doing something very similar, and Simon's the guy to do it. So it's really exciting.
You've got a test mine planned for the final quarter of the year. What's that going to look like?
So effectively, the reason that we're doing this test mine is to access the mineralization, bring it above ground, decouple the risk of starting up mining, which is inherently a risky operation in the sense of it's the first time you're getting underground, first time getting used to ground conditions and seeing the mineralization and these types of things. from, the construction and then the commissioning of a mill, which is also, in mining, more often riskier than not. So by doing that, we kind of control it a little bit better and control the risks. So the goal is to start that test mine, basically have a permanent entrance to the mine through this test mine, but also bring some of that very high value material above surface. Now, the other benefit, of course, is that you get underground, you get to put your hands on the vein, you get to understand how it behaves, you get to see how well your drilling reconciles with reality. So it's just kind of an added layer of de-risking. Some companies will do the test mine and they'll hope to process it and make money and lower their capex and lower their cash burn and things like that. But for us, it's really all about de-risking and decoupling risks.
So do you see Vizsla being a producer, or is the plan to just continue to prove out the property and find a partner to work with, or possibly sell it to a major?
Well, I think most companies, their goal is basically, whether they say it or not, is to kind of dress something up and, and sell it to the highest bidder. The best way for companies to do that often is with the PEA. So what they'll do is kind of, make some unrealistic assumptions and, try to get the biggest NPV possible with the PEA. But for us, we're different. And we've stated this on our vision in our corporate presentation. I've talked about this a lot historically. Our vision really is to become the world's largest single asset silver primary producer with this district. And the reason for that is, the whole group of us, me, Craig, Simon, we're still young. We have a lot of time ahead of us here. We want to build something that we can be proud of and can fill a gap in the silver space. And if you look around, there's only a few silver majors left. A lot of other companies in the silver space have kind of turned into gold producers or hybrid silver gold producers. We see that there's actually a really big need for a new entrant into the silver space as a major producer. And we think that's how we're going to capture the most amount of value for shareholders as well. So that's why that's important. So, with that in mind, and I think this even kind of adds to how impressive the PEA is that we looked at the PEA from the perspective of a company that's actually going to have to build this. We're going to have to finance it. We're going to have to own all of the stuff that that goes into the PEA. So we did it more like a PFS. We're going to go from the PEA into the feasibility study. So we're skipping the pre-feasibility. And the reason for that is, first of all, time value of money. But second of all, the PEA, has a lot of those PFS characteristics to it right now. And, we did it as if we were going to take this and move it into production ourselves. So we're very set on that path.
Now, I have to ask a question about Mexico and mining. Obviously, we have a new president coming into Mexico, and Claudia Sheinbaum. What's your read on what that means for companies like Visla?
Well, I'm very positive about it. I was actually surfing this morning here in Mexico with some friends that that actually know her and have they're local people, but know her and have relatives in her kind of sphere, let's say. And all the information that I've got from people who live here in Mexico and know this is that that she's actually pro-business, pro-mining. The concerns that they have around the environment tend to gravitate more towards water. And water is important. Water is important to any jurisdiction in the world, whether it's Canada or US. So I think what we might see is that Mexico might bring up their permitting standards to be more in line with North America, with the rest of North America, like Canada, United States. But I'm confident that mines like Panuco will still get permitted. And the reason for that is, some people will say, oh, do you think Claudia is going to be the same as AMLO? Well, even if she is the same as AMLO, if she continues with AMLO's policies, Silvercrest and Meg Silver were both permitted under AMLO's administration because they're underground mines. Vizsla would be something very similar to that. So I expect it to be relatively straightforward. I don't think, any permitting in the industry is always easy, but I think it should be relatively straightforward, and we're quite optimistic with Claudia.
So you guys spun out a royalty entity for the Panuco project in June. Normally, royalties are a way for a company to obtain project financing. What drove you guys to pursue this transaction?
Yeah, so I think what's important to I think there's a couple of things that feed into this. One is the Panuco district that we have is very large. As I said earlier, we consolidated this project for the first time. We've drilled less than 10% of the veins that we know about, and the resource and the PEA sits on basically less than that 10%. It's a very small portion of the overall district. We know that there's a huge amount of exploration potential left across this district. And, understanding that silver price may move in a positive fashion here, we expect it to go a lot higher. We can't control if another company wants to come and take us over, and maybe they want to pay us something that's unbelievably high, and we might have to take that offer. So what we wanted to do is create value for shareholders outside of the main company, which is Vizsla Silver, and make sure that other discoveries that happen 10, 20 years from now are covered by this royalty, and there's value still left for shareholders through this royalty. So we spun out, basically through a plan of arrangement, we spun out a new company where shareholders of Vizsla Silver received a pro rata share for their ownership in Vizsla Silver. And so we basically added value in that transaction. The shares traded up on the day that dividend happened. So we'll see what happens with the company as it comes to trade, what it values at. But we expect that this will be very accretive for shareholders.
So if I'm an investor watching or a potential investor and I'm trying to evaluate sort of how management is doing and how the company is doing, what am I looking out for over the remainder of 2024 in terms of potential catalysts or milestones, or just those hurdles that you guys have in front of you in the near term?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to really any company in the space, it's how well are we doing in terms of, our promises and delivering on those promises. And, with Visla, we always try to under promise and over deliver. So keep an eye out for that. If we're doing that, then we're doing the right thing. And specifically in terms of milestones and catalysts, the big things for us working back from production, let's say production is first silver in 2027. That's what we've been saying. That's our goal. We're working towards pouring our first silver bar in 2027. So in order to do that, we need to publish our feasibility study in the second half of 2025. So that's next year. It's basically a year from now onwards. We also need to start our test mine, which we're planning on doing later this year. We need to submit our permits. That's later this year as well. And, something that I want to see, and I think all of our shareholders want to see as well, is how are we doing on the exploration front? Are we making new discoveries? Because as I said a little bit earlier, this is a district that really is massively underexplored. And that's the district that we had 6 months ago. In the last 6 months, we've tripled the land package. We've made new acquisitions along our trend. We've added 10,000 hectares to the south of our main project area. So we've got so much to explore. And I want to see us be making new discoveries, throughout this year and into 2025 and beyond, as we continue to production.
Well, Michael, thanks very much for hopping on here today. I congratulate you on the success that you guys have had so far. And I hope you'll come back on here in the future as you guys continue to make discoveries and build out what will be the biggest silver asset in the world.
Well, thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. And we're working towards that goal. So thanks for having us.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks, everyone.